Magandang hapon. Check out the ano, uh, I'd like to check out the what do you call this? The the audio. Is the audio okay? Please check audio. There you go. All right. Magandang tanghali. Let me just check also if we're live here on Facebook. Double checking. Oh, all right. So we're okay. And are we live on Facebook? There we go. We're live. Let me just share. This has to be shared on. Hi, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Wala akong assistant. So I have to share this by myself. Magandang hapon. This video or this live is going to be primarily about the Pastilla scheme and the ongoing gulo that's happening regarding, people are questioning or asking why the 44 employees have not yet been fired. So give me a chance to just share this for a while. Mm, there you go. Okay, there, done. Sorry, sorry about that. All right, magandang hapon. And I would like to say hi to Ma'am Rodora, Edwin Mainit, Mercy Tata Baldomero, Ansel, Joy Lim, Eduardo Destura Nicodiase, Alfredo Abanto, Riesgo, MSJ Hacks, Donna Dwayne Lagao, Edwin Moscaya, Angelito Buluran, and of course the early birds who are checks and lines, George Tumlao, Marino Bandilio, Olga Alvarado, Seth Araque, Edwin Moscaya, Alicia Ochiay, Ronald Nietes, Sharila Batyan Sila. Alright, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. We're having this a little early kasi inaantok pa ako. And I'm trying out the new laptop. So just let me know if things are clear for you and we're okay. All right. Let me see. We're supposed to share the screen. What happened to my screen? There we go. What happened to my screen? Hold on. I'm missing my slideshow. It's just a few slides. There. All right. Okay, so pastillas. What is pastillas? But sige, let's start with this. Pastillas. The president says he fired the Bureau of Immigration's employees, but Secretary Guevara says they are back. Now, what happened? This seems to be parang magkasalungat yung dalawang idea na ito, nakabalik sila. So, ang alam natin, pinatanggal sila at now, sinasabi ni Secretary Guevara ay suspendido lang daw pala sila for a while. So, lahat nakabalik. Pero hindi pa daw tapos yung kaso. Now, wait, what's going on? Bakit nagkaganito? So, let's see. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Okay, bago ang lahat, huwag kakalimutan po mag-like at share at kung hindi pa po kayo naka-follow doon sa Luminous natin, huwag kakalimutan mag-like and follow para mag-subscribe na rin po kayo doon sa YouTube channel namin dito. So it's both Luminous by TCA and AGP on YouTube and then Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan on Facebook. So all right. What is pastillas? What is the pastillas scam? Well, some time ago, before it all started, the Chinese government had banned online gambling in their country. So the operators moved out, some of them to the Philippines and then some of them reportedly to other countries dito sa ASEAN. So they set up here at ang primary targets nila, yung kanilang clientele are also Chinese in the mainland. Therefore, the Chinese government is not happy about these things. Gayon managed to set up shop here and they continue their operations. Supposedly, these operations are illegal in the Chinese mainland, but here in the Philippines, it's legal. Well, it's not illegal. Ito. However, The Chinese nationals kasi were needed to man these Philippine online gambling operations or POGOs. So they would they needed to work out a scheme in order they could for them to get visas. And normally it should have been a ordinary thing, di ba? Punta sila dito, they should abide by the rules on employment locally. Somebody has to vouch for them, and they can take on jobs only if there are no available Philippine employees or employees of Philippine resident employees, potential employees who could be hired. So it fits actually dito sa Pogos. As long as they were registered with with their gambling agencies. Okay. Pagcor. As long as they're registered with Pagcor and they pay the appropriate fees, they can arrange for their employees to be in the country legally as long as they abide by the rules of the DOLE. Now, what happened here? Apparently, it seems to be more lucrative, or well, of course, they're foreigners. So, somebody set up a scheme dito sa Bureau of Immigrations. So the Chinese nationals would arrive in the PH without the knowledge of the Chinese government, but in conspiracy with BI employees. The foreigners would arrive at the airport. Oh, wait, there are two kinds. There's one kind ng pastillas na hindi niyo nakikita yung pastillas. So technically, hindi siya pastillas. Kasi pre-arranged yan with travel agencies. So yung travel agencies, padadatingin sila dito on tourist visas. Tapos, mag-work na sila and then i-arrange na lang using another mechanism with the BI so that they can convert their tourist visas into working visas. Okay. Ito namang mga to, the pastillas naman, ito yung nahalata. Kasi dadating sila dito sa Pilipinas ostensibly through, also through some travel operators. Tapos pagdating nila dito, wala silang visa. So, merong pre-arranged na Bureau of Immigrations na official na dun sila lahat dadaan. Tapos, iaabot yung bayad. So, tatatakan sila ng visa on arrival. Itong visa on arrival kasi, this is legal. Allowed yan. Pero, I think it's for only about 1 month. After that 1 month, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-renew. Kailangan umalis ka na. So, yung ibang ginagawa nila, aalis sila, tapos babalik na lang. Tapos magre-renew na lang uli or kukuha ng tourist visa. Okay, so dito, wala silang visa, dadating sila dito, may pre-arranged na immigration official na tatanggap sa kanila, tapos magbabayad sila. Yung mga bayad na yon will be wrapped in bond paper resembling pastillas. O so, yan doon nakuha yung pangalan na pastillas. Pero, yung bayad na yon isn't for entering the country kasi may separate, may legit fee naman yon. Legit naman yung visa on arrival. Posible talaga yon. Pero, yung bayad na ito para sa later conversion ng kanilang visas. Okay? Bakit ayaw maalis nito? Alright. So, dito nahuli ito. Okay, nahuli because, well, there were whistleblowers. May mga nagsumbong. Kasi apparently, this had been going on for some time. Tapos, normally yan, yung mga higher immigration officials, everybody happy, bibigyan lahat all the way down. Tapos, suddenly, I think it stopped. Okay? So, dahil dito, na may nag-whistleblower, may nagreklamo doon sa Senado because, well, hinahabol na siguro or hindi sila nakakatanggap or something to that effect. At any rate, nagsumbong doon sa Senate hearing which was being headed by Senator Risa Hontiveros. Doon sa bakit ganun? Okay, double checking ko lang kung okay pa tayo sa Luminous. Right. Ito. Alright. So, nung nagkahulihan na yan, the president who found out about it invited 44 of the known employees who were involved in the pastillas scam to Malacanang at sana o-orderin niya na kainin yung pastillas. Dinistribute nga yon, totoo namang pastillas yon. Pero meron daw, may pera daw yon, and the president was saying either you eat it or you give it to the first beggar that you see outside. So, bakit tayo nagdi-discuss nito? Kasi binanggit uli ng Pangulo doon sa kanyang, SONA. Sabi ng Pangulo, ayun na nga, he said he fired these employees. And then of course, something like the next day lang or soon after, ni-report ng media na nakabalik yung 44. Actually, there was more than 44 kasi inimbestigahan pa ng NBI yan. As a matter of fact, meron pang naaresto na chief ng legal ng NBI who was supposedly arranging to to either lose evidence or not file cases against certain BI employees. Yon, na-arrest yun. Nahuli yon in the act, pinusasan siya sa loob ng NBI together with his brother who is a Bureau of Immigration's employee. So, supposedly inimbestigahan ng NBI and the NBI is under the DOJ. So, yung DOJ talaga yung nagli-lead ng investigasyon na ito. So, bakit sila nakabalik ngayon? Okay. Nakabalik sila primarily kasi hindi pa tapos yung investigation nila. See, did the president order the BI officials fired? Yes, he did. However, firing requires due process. Naalala niyo yung sinasabi ko, under the Constitution, no person may be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, and a job or employment is considered, property. So hindi ka pwedeng basta i-fire nang wala tong due process. So what the DOJ did actually was to refer to the Office of the Ombudsman itong mga kaso na ito. So the Ombudsman, I understand, is undertaking either preliminary investigation or investigation. In the meantime, habang nag-iimbestiga sila, nag-order ng preventive suspension. Now, what is preventive suspension? Yung preventive suspension is habang may investigation doon sa kaso, a government employee can be removed temporarily from office, that's your suspension, and that's preventive, while the investigation is ongoing para hindi sila pwedeng mag-interfere with the office, with the witnesses, etc., and with the documents that could be found in the office. Okay. Natapos na po yung preventive suspension. It was ordered sometime in October of last year. Right. Dun sa so natapos na yung 6-month preventive suspension nila, so bumalik na sila. Does this mean they're not going to be fired? Of course not. But what is required is an investigation. And this investigation will bring about evidence, or you will gather evidence through this investigation, or and then the case will be filed. After matlagap na po yung ebidensya, if-file itong kaso na to for preliminary investigation, kapag may probable cause, pwede na silang tanggalin kasi they can also file congruent to that or kasabay dyan ang administrative cases para ma-dismiss na po sila sa serbisyo. So they were, ang na-file sa kanila are, let me see, nawala yung ko. They were puro mga gross misconduct and so on. That will if they're found guilty administratively ay matatanggal na sila doon sa kanilang pwesto. There are also criminal cases, I understand, that are being filed pero hindi pa yata kompleto yung ebidensya. So later on, after they are dismissed administratively, tutuloy pa rin, hopefully, with enough evidence, yung mga kaso sa kanila that are criminal. Yung criminal na yan usually will be under the anti-graft law, under the revised penal code, and so on. Sabi ni Michi Lucero, di ba 30 days lang dapat preventive suspension or iba pag government? Oo, iba po pag government. Especially pag OMB ang nag-order, 6 months talaga yan. Okay. Ito, Mel Guy says, I know that this rats, naroon na naman tayong mga spammers, kainis. Alright, let me see. Grabe, ang daming spammers. Ang daming spam. Okay. Sabi ni Jenlor of Dianela, tama, suspended ka for 6 months, but after 6 months, dapat pabalikin ka after that kasi they are protected by civil service. The stream media deceived us. Iba yung pinabalik ni P. Duterte yung BI na involved sa trafficking sa Syria. Okay, oo, iba pa yon. May firing din po do. Yun talaga, fired yung mga yon. Kasi nga, paano nakakalabas yung mga OFWs when they're heading for war-torn areas, yung mga areas na delikado talaga. So, iba pa yon. Pero dito sa pastillas, ang sabi ng President, the order of the President was to fire them. So in order to fire them, the Secretary of Justice ordered an investigation to gather evidence and then file the appropriate cases, both administrative at saka kriminal. Ang problema ay hindi pa po tapos yung investigasyon, posible na kulang pa yung ebidensya for purposes of filing the criminal cases. Ngayon, there was sufficient evidence for the ombudsman to suspend them preventively. So yung preventive suspension na yan, hindi yan penalty, pero tatanggalin lang muna kayo dun sa opisina. And wala kang bayad during that time. You can't collect your salary. Ngayon, kung wala pang ma-file na kaso at the end of your preventive suspension or walang kaso that is filed, then you can collect on your back wages or your back salaries. Eto, sabi ni Bauts, di ba may pirma ng commissioner yung mga visa ng mga Pogo? Bakit di siya kinakasuhan? Actually, tama ka doon. Dapat kinakasuhan siya kasi you're right. And madali lang po kasi yung ebidensya na yun. Makukuha mo lang yung, 'di ba, pag nakuha ninyo yung documents such as the passport, automatically makikita ninyo na yung yung issuance at saka yung documents pertaining to the issuance of the visa is signed by the commissioner. Kasi normally, ganun yung proseso, talagang commissioner ang magsasign. Ngayon, there is a rule sa civil service that if a person has made the recommendation to approve a certain transaction and the higher official does not rely solely on the recommendation, maaari na hindi siya masama dun sa kaso. Basta may good faith. Ngayon, dito sa kaso ni Morente, parang malabo po yung good faith kasi nga, alam na niya, particularly dun sa mga kaso that happened pa rin during the course of the Senate investigation. Tumuloy-tuloy pa rin yan. Diba? Kakainis yung spam. Grabe. Alright. Yung head, sabi ni Don ulit, hindi tinatanggal so nandyan pa rin yung mga galamay niya. That is true. So the problem is that not enough people were suspended preventively at not enough people are actually being investigated. So yun ang dapat tinitignan ng gobyerno. Pero the nice thing about it is napansin ni Pangulo. In fact, the president had been talking about supposedly firing or taking matters into his own hands pagdating dito sa immigrations. So we have no choice but to think na although the president has good intentions and tama naman yung proseso na ino-observe ni DOJ Secretary, there's still people running interference dyan. Ibig sabihin may mga tao na how do you call this? May mga tao na ang interest nila talaga ay protektahan supposedly itong mga dapat matatanggal dun sa BI. Even more important, tama si Don, is that the commissioner should also be investigated. 'Di ba? Masyadong siya yung pumirma at saka after a while pumuputok na yung skandalo tungkol dun sa pastillas, pero tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung pagpirma or yung tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung not just yung pagpirma pero yung issuance ng mga visas on arrival in this manner. At tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung pagbibigay ng mga visas to the POGOs. Ngayon, ang sabi ng presidente, gusto niya illegalize yung mga POGOs kasi mahina yung koleksyon dun sa income taxes nila, including dun sa income taxes that are generated by the employees. Diba? So, dahil may mga ganon, nakita uli ng presidente itong mga POGOs. Teka muna, ano nangyayari dito? So, ayun, nakakitang-kita ang kaputian huling-huli dito yung ano, o bakit nakabalik itong mga 'to? Bakit ang tagal ng kaso? Wasn't there enough evidence? And furthermore, administrative cases, dapat mabilis yung mga yan. Nga, we can't fault the ombudsman. Ang dami-dami ng mga tao na involved dyan. Ang tanong, sino ang nag-prosecute ng mga kaso na ito? Diba? Meaning, dapat mayroong opisyal na nakatutok dyan. Can we trust, halimbawa, whoever the point person is in the Bureau of Immigrations na itutuloy yung mga kaso na ito o ipoprosecute ng maigi yung mga kasong to? Ibig sabihin, makakahanap at makakatulong doon sa magli-liaison with the NBI, with the DOJ, at tatrabahuhin itong mga kaso na ito para makulong or ma-dismiss na with finality itong mga employees ng BI. Okay. Huwag muna po kayong magtanong dun sa mga ibang sa ibang issues. Tapusin muna natin po itong issues na ito. Eto, sabi ni, hindi ko mabasa yung names, nakapost nga sa page ni Hantivirus na balik trabaho daw itong mga sinuspindi. Sarap share sa comment section itong live mo. Oo. Hindi, kasi ang problema is that people think that suspension is the penalty or suspension tapos paaalisin na sila. Hindi po, kasi yung suspension na pinataw ng Office of the Ombudsman is only the preventive suspension para makatuloy-tuloy yung investigasyon. Dahil ang dami-daming pera involved dito, aasahan natin na kukonti ang malalagap natin ng ebidensya at magtatakipan yung mga tao dun sa loob. Ngayon, may 2 o 3 mga whistleblowers dito. So, yung mga whistleblowers, meron silang personal knowledge at maituturo nila yung mga tao na involved. Pero, kailangan din mapatunayan yung pagtatanggap ng pera and this requires better evidence than simply testimonial evidence. Okay? That probably might explain kung bakit medyo matagal. Para sa akin, there might be sufficient evidence base dito sa testimonya ng mga whistleblowers na i-dismiss na yung mga ibang mga employees sa BI. Pero ang tanong, bakit nga ba nagtatagal or hindi pa rin natatapos yung mga investigasyon na ito? It's also possible na nasa NBI pa po yung ibang mga kaso and therefore hindi pa umuusad given na under investigation pa sila. Sabi ni Tom, bakit hindi tinitignan ng Pangulong mga balita na maraming namatay sa bakuna? Oh, please. Not ready to talk about this right now. Eto, sabi ni Teddy Gaming, kawawa yung mga nasa pinakailalim. May kaibigan akong nasuspend din dahil sa mga pastillas kahit di siya involved. Kung hindi siya involved, ultimately, he will get his back pay. Kasi nga, preventive lang ang suspension dito, which means na eventually, he will get his payback. Diba? Libo-libo ang pinirmahan ni Morente, sabi ni Don. Hindi siya nagtaka. Yun na nga, that's why it negates bad faith. It negates good faith, sorry. Okay? Sabi ni Luis Mason, sa bagal ng proseso, malamang pag hindi na si Duterte presidente, baka mawala lahat ng mga pinagpaguran. I don't think so. Kasi once na-file yung kaso, aandar na po yun. So, ang tanong na lang, kung na sino yung tumututok dito sa mga kasong to. Sabi ni Eric na pastillas yung pastillas. Sabi ni Rex Faith Crespo, ma'am, follow the money, you will see the light. Tigilan mo nga ako, buti sana kung ako'y nag-iimbestiga dyan. Nakikita naman natin kung sino talaga yung involved dyan. Uy, see the light ka pa. Alam na natin. Sabi ni Imelda Aying, yay, live uli. Lucky I'm not working, so nice to hear real facts and information. Thanks to you watching from Australia. Sabi ni Ma'am Michi, walang mitigating circumstance because that has been the culture inside. It's either makisama yung mga officers sa high-ranking officials like yung commissioners or risk na pag-initan ka. Well, mitigating circumstances apply only to criminal cases. Para sa akin, unahin natin yung admin cases para matanggal sila dyan. And once they are removed from there, then at least 'di ba hindi na sila kikita, kasi pag kumikita sila baka binibigyan pa natin sila ng bala para mabaril yung kaso. Sabi ni Lilibeth Luis, bakit hindi isuspend yung mga involved sa kaso until matapos ang cases? Kasi bawal po 'yun sa batas natin. 'di ba? Bawal po yung mga ano, yung indefinite suspensions. Kasi rin remember, these are civil service. Pag tinanggal mo dun sa pwesto, those positions are not vacant. So hindi ka pwedeng maglagay ng ibang tao dun sa posisyon na nilayasan nila or na ano o na iniwan nila pansamantala habang suspended sila. So maaantala ang government operations. Sabi ni Gitville, clue naman sino ang ninong ni Morente. Gee, di ko alam. Dapat siguro i-amend yung batas sa ombudsman. Masyadong protected ang civil service. Grabe, after 6 months of suspension, wala kang choice na pabalikin talaga sila dahil protected sila sa due process. Actually, during the period of suspension, kung makahanap na kaagad ng ebidensya during that time, edi hindi na sila babalik. Eh yun yung problema is, kung within 6 months, hindi ka nakalagap ng ebidensya, in all likelihood, mahihirapan ka na kumuha ng ebidensya otherwise. So, actually, hindi problema yan. The problem isn't really with the system. It might be the evidence. Diba? Ito, sabi ni Jennifer Guevara Dodd, timing yung update ng pagbalik after the SONA talaga. Oo nga eh. Ito, sabi ni Doc Firefox Reggie, mahirap talaga corruption sa government because most of the time, private sector, either TCOM or sila ang nakikinabang. Likewise, our president can't do micromanaging, but what is good is he doesn't tolerate. Tama yan. Teka, magpasalamat muna ako kay Roel Costello. Maraming salamat, Roel. Magandang hapon din sa iyo. Bakit di po nire-review ng Congress at Senate ang loophole ng batas about sa cases na ganyan? It's not a loophole. Nag-hearing pa naman si Ontiveros, hindi naman masyadong halata. Well, yon, that's a different issue. Pero, itong preventive suspension is a good mechanism. Actually, 6 months maximum sa Office of the Ombudsman. Which means na you have a lot of time na hindi ka papakialaman. You can go through the records in the office. You can talk to potential witnesses na hindi pinapakialaman, particularly witnesses who are in the office. So the rule actually is good. The problem here is that there might not be good cases kasi that's the problem with getting cases base sa isang congressional or Senate investigation. Hindi buo yung kaso when they make the recommendation. It still requires further investigation. And the problem is that the evidence that is required, particularly para dun sa mga criminal cases, should be for guilt beyond reasonable doubt. You need proof beyond reasonable doubt kasi ikukulong natin yung tao, hindi pwedeng konti lang yung ebidensya and then you throw them into jail. What if that happens to you? What if chismis lang yung ebidensya? Pwede ka na bang makulong dahil sa chismis? We should not allow that. So, it's really the balancing, what we call the balancing of rights here. Ngayon, itong 44, because of this record, it is also possible na hindi na muna sila mapopromote for so many years dahil nga may mark na silang ganito. Plus, it can appear in their 201 file para future, pag nagbago na yung commissioner dito, on guard na rin yung future commissioners para alam nila, itong mga to involved sa ganito. Pwede natin silang imbestigahan o tutukan or whatever because they might do it again. So, yun. Sabi ni Don, isa lang yung solution dyan ni Presidente, palitan ng matinong commissioner. O nga naman. Sabi ni TC, since nakabalik na yung mga nasuspend, preventively suspended po. That means may sweldo na sila uli. Actually, they can get their back wages. Paano pag guilty sila? Dapat ibalik nila sahod nila sa period na yon? Hindi po. Hindi pa kasi sila considered guilty at the time. Hindi po. It doesn't work that way. Kung you're employed, you get your salaries unless your suspension is suspension without pay. Okay? And that is a penalty. So this is just preventive suspension. Kapag napatawan sila ng penalty na suspension, that will be without pay. Hindi sila So kung nabigyan siya ng pay during the time that they're serving out a penalty, then yon kailangan ibalik yon. Hi kay Hoven who's watching from Libya. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Arlene, Kasali din ba sa pastillas yung mga Pinay na lumalabas ng bansa para magtrabaho sa labas pero visiting visa ang hawak tapos nakalista yung name na hawak ng airport police tapos sila ang nagtuturo kung saan immigration officer ka pipila para makalagpas ka, no questions asked. Naranasan ko yan 1999 and 2007. Yes po, ito yung tinatawag na exit pastillas na nire-report na po dun sa media. Yes po, iba pa nga yan. Hindi pa nga yata yan lumilitaw. Hindi ko sure kung lumitaw yan dun sa hearings ni Senator Hontiveros. Pero may nahuli na ganyan at na-report yan sa media. Meron nga nahuli, di ba, yung naglalakad na visa mag-isa. Yung merong may exit, merong dala na 40 plus na passports ng mga Chinese nationals. Kasi di ba, pag visa on arrival, kailangan umalis ka at the end of your visa, hindi po allowed extension yon. So, aalis ka. So, ang ginawa, yung mga passports lang yung umalis, tinatakan siya para nagmukhang umexit yung mga taong yun. So yun, that's another. Di ba? Edison Yee says, hanggang mayroong mga willing magbayad ng red tape, hindi mawawala ang corruption. Nasa tao rin din, wala sa mga empleyado ng gobyerno. But at least nabawasan sa panahon ni Pangulong Duterte. I agree with that one. Matt says, good afternoon, and he's watching from Macabebe, Pampanga. Well, about a lifestyle check if they can't prove their finances? Yun nga yung trabaho ng anti-corruption na commission under Grex Belgica. Sama lifestyle checks dun. Sabi ni Sel Bernante, ang ganda ng explanation nun. Now we know how these suspensions and investigations work. Pero parang nakaka-frustrate knowing na walang nangyari after 6 months of suspension at makakatanggap pa ng back pay. Mukhang malabo na yan. Yun na nga yung pinoproblema ko is that in those 6 months, hindi kayo natapos dun sa investigation na yun. Akala ko ba may nakatutok dyan sa NBI? May nahuli pa nga sila dun sa kasagsagan ng problema. So I think we also need to look, why is the commissioner still there? The president has already expressed his displeasure with the commissioner, pero andyan pa rin siya, di ba? Hi, Ma'am Bell. Ito, si Ma'am Cabrera Raagas, nagpadala po through our super sticker. Maraming salamat po. Aris says, ano pa ba ang kailangan gawin ni Duterte para malinis ito? Grabe napapahiya ang gobyerno sa ganito. Well, first of all, kailangan palitan yung commissioner. Kasi itong sa pastillas investigation, although may pinag-uusapan na pera, hindi nila pinag-uusapan kung saan ultimately maglalanding yan. So, the commissioner, kung hindi yan tumatanggap, he should be fired for incompetence. Kasi nangyayari na nga yung ganito, tapos wala pa rin na And then, yung mga reported na katiwalian, like yung mga lumalakad na passports, yung mga exit pastillas, nangyari yan, nakaumpisa na yung pastillas investigation dun sa Senado. In other words, alam na niya. So, dun sa pastillas, baka pwede pa nating sabihin, hindi niya to alam. Even if it was going on for such a long period of time. O sige, bigyan natin ng chance. Pero yung mga subsequent cases, tapos wala pa rin siyang alam, kung wala ka talagang alam, bakit ka nakaupo diyan sa opisina mo? Larga na. Okay, not reading anything unrelated yet. Panahon pa ni Pinoy yan, daming yumaman sa travel agency owner dyan para sa Chinese na gustong magka-PH visa. Agree. Para sa akin kasi, ito, simple lang yan. What we need is yung sistema para they don't need to do the things illegally. So, ito na nga, halimbawa, yung legitimize. Tama yung presidente. Legitimize natin yung mga pogos dito. That way, the BIR can collect taxes on the Chinese nationals who are here, aside from collecting the income taxes from the operations, the gambling operations itself, di ba? So, kita ka na dun sa gambling operations, tapos kaltas pa ng income tax yung mga Chinese workers dito. Because i-legitimize natin, nandito sila, they'll have working visa, so kakaltasan na sila ng employees, ng taxes, ng income taxes from their employees' compensation. Diba? Sabi ni Vicente, our president really needs all the help to get to clean the government. PRRD has all good intentions. Totoo naman yan at nakikita natin. Pero hindi niyo ba na, ako nang problema ako, that the president seems to be pushing for this, pero because he physically cannot get out and hindi niya pwede masyado magpatawag yung mga tao given itong COVID, masyado siyang, di ba, nagreklamo siya, masyado siyang nakukulong. Tingin ko parang yun pang cry for help sa totoo lang, para siyang naho-hostage. Parang sinasabi niya, andito ako, hindi ako makalabas. Pero nakikita natin na pinupursige niya yung issue ng immigrations. Ang tanong, bakit hindi umaalis yung commissioner? Hindi ba siya nahihiya? Is how can we be sure that the ballot counting, hindi pa nga natin pinag-uusapan yan. Sabi ni Bruce Gaho, very informative. He provided us with good information para mas madali natin maintindihan yung bagay-bagay watching from Dubai. We thank you kay Arlie Mars. Ito, sabi ni Eric ang Dueco, bakit parang walang ginagawa si Belica sa corruption ni Morente? Ito nga yung weird di ba? Ang nag-imbestiga sa BI, yung Anti-Red Tape Authority. Dumating sila kasi daw may nagreklamo na foreigner na pinapabalik siya ng pinapabalik para makuha yung kanyang visa extension. After that, wala na tayong narinig. Di ba? So I agree, may problema rin dun sa mga investigating agencies yata. Maraming salamat kay Nathaniel Quinto sa kanyang super sticker. Ito, sabi ni Nelson, Sabado pa shoutout lang sa akin, watching from Lubao, Pampanga. Sana po di kayo magsawa sa kakasabi ng mga tabang gobyerno para sa Pilipinas. Sabi ni Ma'am Ying, baka pwede ipalit si Sir Parlades, Commissioner, o kaya si Sir NFA, si Jason, o nga, no? Ito, sabi ni Leonard Ansag, magpasa po siguro ng batas para sa pastillas scam at iba pang katulad ng mga case nila para naman nagkaroon talaga ng ngipin ng batas para sa mga nag-scam na yan. You can't, well, ganito yan, it's already a crime. Diba? May bribery dyan. May anti-graft, may violation ng Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Ang daming violations ng administrative ng rules on administrative cases. Pero parang hindi lumalakad. It's not a matter of getting more laws. The laws are there. The penalties are there. It's a matter of enforcing them. Kung ako, nanggigigil ang presidente, ibig sabihin, heads must roll. And ang key dito is kung sino yung tumututok dun sa mga kaso. We can't expect the DOJ, sila yung nag-iimbestiga eh. Kailangan merong yung complainant ba? Usually dyan, yung complainant will be the agency itself or the law enforcers. NBI, kamusta man ba tayo dan? Did you put together a good case? O bara-bara lang yung ebidensya ninyo dito? Diba? It's not the law that's na nagkukulang. Tao. With regard, yun pa rin. Let me see. Watching from Nagoya, Japan, si Eri Morisawa. Ito nga, sabi ni Gloria Alamilio, back nung si Comfile doon, nung panay-investigate, ba't hindi natutulog ang mga Senado? Kasi election, wala pa sila budget. Alam mo, actually, pinag-usapan namin yan kaninang umaga doon sa Karambola at sinasabi ko nga na kung kasi birthday nga ni Comnic, happy birthday, Commissioner Nick Feldon, former Commissioner Nick Feldon. Okay, kung si Comnic, kay Comnic nangyari yan, let's say siya yung nakaupo sa immigrations, tapos pumutok yung pastillas, abay, pinatatanggal na siya. Ngayon pa lang. Pero bakit itong si Morente, bakit ang bait nila kay Kong Morente? Lalong-lalo na dito sa Senado. Nung una, wala nga siyang masagot Uutal-utal siya, hindi siya maka-explain or anything like that. Habang tumatagal ang panahon, hindi na nga siya tinatawag, hindi na nga siya kinakausap, hindi siya nag-grill, tapos parang hindi na siya kasama dun sa mga kaso. Ito, sabi ni William Galicia, nagbayad ang previous company ko ng $150 billion sa isang Pinay na nakabase sa Bahrain para ako palusutin. Ay, ano yung? BD, sorry. Alam ko $1 billion. 150, Bahrain dollars sa isang Pinay na nakabase sa Bahrain para ako palusutin. O 'di ba? 'Di ba grabe yung galamay, ang dami, share the ang dami talaga, ang daming nakikinabang dito. Eto, sabi ni Ophir, mahina si SOJ. Kung ako yan, hingan ko ng courtesy resignation yan si Morente. Hindi po pwedeng hingan ni DOJ Secretary si Morente ng resignation kasi hindi po siya ang nag-appoint dyan. Ang pwede lang humingi ng courtesy resignation niya ay ang presidente. And I understand that the president has asked him to leave already. Ayaw lang siyang pahiyain dahil ang tagal-tagal na niyang kilala yan. Pero kumbaga, as a matter of courtesy, pero kung hindi pa umalis ng quietly yan si Morente, baka magising na lang siya na nasa labas na siya. Di ba? Sabi ni Ray, makuha, tama si PRRD, talamak talagang korupsyon sa gobyerno. At least si Pangulo kumikilos, hindi kagaya ng mga nakaraan na administrasyon, hindi nila ginawa ng solusyon, pinababayaan nila mga nakawan sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. Ay, wag ka, may DAP nga at saka PDAF, di ba? Hindi lang nila pinapabayaan, hala, kasali sila. Sabi ni Marlon Morada, dapat pigain kung sino mga contact ng mga travel agency na kasabot nila sa immigrations tungkol sa pastillas scam, watching from Dubai. Oh, di ba? Meron ngang attempt na i-bust yung isang supposedly na doon sa loob ng immigrations merong binast na na supposedly liaison ng isang law office. O ano nangyari? Lusaw yung kaso because it was a stupid bust operation. Sipin mo, representante ng law office, nagbabayad ng fees, pero nandun sa loob mismo ng immigrations, it was a botched case, halatang halata. Vic Talha says the preventive suspension is intended to do a speedy investigation. If hindi ito nagawa, someone is not doing their job better or at least somebody's negligent. Yun dapat ang pwedeng gawin. Change the investigators or bring in more people to handle the case or more competent investigators. I agree. That's the first suspicion natin. Titignan niyo yung mga investigador. And then, on the other hand, titignan niyo din yung kaso. Baka naman wala talagang ebidensya. In which case, this was a bad idea from the get-go. Dapat nag-intay bago, yung, kumbaga, dapat yung mga ganito binabust natin eh. But no, sige. Gusto ninyo na may Senate investigation pa, may mga ganyan-ganyan pang kaek-ekan sa Senado in aid of re-election, o edi sige. Yan, para you end up with a weak case. More strict dapat ang BI, nakakatakot pag napasukan tayo ng mga kawatan, destabilizers ng foreigners or criminals na nakakatakot sa Pilipinas. Huwag ka, ano pa, yung mga foreign terrorists, nababantayan ba ng BI yan? O nangungulekta na lang sila dito sa mga pogo? Parang gano'n na lang yung impression natin eh. Tuloy-tuloy na lang yung hingian. Lalo-lalo na ngayon, ang higpit-higpit, di ba? Dahil may mga bawal pumasok, dahil syempre may pandemya. Eh, kung saan may bawal, may paraan. Oy, ito sabi ni Mike West. Eh paano protektado ni Laila de Lima, yung isang protector ng narco-politicians? Narco-politicians naman yan. Iba naman to. Why doesn't Duterte just fire Morente outright? Can the president do that? Sabi ni Ma'am Yuris Landicho Reyes. Yes po. He can, actually. But you know what's happening? Like I said, didn't you hear the president during the SONA? Read between the lines. Sinasabi niya, I am a virtual prisoner. Siya makalabas. So what is he doing? He's giving instructions, usually third party, another person uutusan niya somebody para utusan somebody, and somewhere along the line, 'di ba, things get mixed up or delayed. So the president could be pushing for the removal of this guy, but there might be some people interfering. That's one possibility that we're looking at, 'di ba? May batas po ba tayo laban sa mga dapat nang mahawak ng kaso na yan? Kasi 6 months inupuan lang nila. Wala tayong ebidensya na inupuan nila ha, kasi the presumption is trinabaho nila yan. Kung binigyan sila ng 6 months suspension, dapat within 6 months may resulta na. Negligence yan, di ba? Hindi po talaga. Kasi hindi niyo pwedeng lagyan ng taning ang investigasyon kasi nga, ang hinahanap mo dito, evidence. Minsan talaga, hindi mo mahugot yung ebidensya. Kung hindi ka rin magaling na investigador, ay naku, magtatagal talaga yan. Ang makikita mong negligence dyan is kumpleto na yung ebidensya mo, hindi mo fina-file yung kaso. Yan. Di lang yun. Ano na yan? Katiwalian na yan. Yung kapatid ko 3 years ago na offload kahit complete papers niya with visa to Oman, pinabayad kami ng 30K under the table para makaalis. O ayan, ayan. Yan yung mga other kind of pastillas. Di ba? Ito, sabi ni Aris Fopalan, ang sarap hulihin ng humaharang, di kaya si Harry the Color to. Wala tayong balita tungkol dyan. Sabi ni Eri Morisawa, tanong ko po, out of topic, bakit po kailangan pa kumuha ng visa ang asawa at anak namin? Hapon, full vaccine na po kami at bakit may quarantine na 10 days po? Kasi immigration related, sasagutin natin yan. Kukuha ng visa yung asawa at anak. Ano na ba sila? Resident alien. Yung nationality nila, so foreign nationals pa rin sila. So na-applyan na ba sila ng permanent resident status dito? Kung hindi pa po, yan yung reason kung bakit kailangan nila ng visa. Kasi yung permanent resident status, that's already a visa. So kung walang ganon, that's the reason you need one. Kahit married to a Filipina. Medyo nagmo-morph, nag-iiba na rin kasi yung rules right now because of the pandemic. Ngayon, para namang may nationality yung pandemya. No? Anyway, yung quarantine ng 10 days po, nire-require yan kahit fully vaccinated because you can still be a carrier even if you are vaccinated. At least yun yung dinadahilan ng IATF. Kasi okay lang sana kung yung bansa natin, marami ng vaccinated, sige papapasukin yan, wala nang quarantine. Ang problema, hindi pa tayo nakakapag-herd immunity, so hindi sila basta pwedeng papasukin. So kailangan pahupain yung possibility na merong virus na dala kahit hindi sila may sakit, yung mga foreign nationals. Actually, kahit Filipino nationals, dapat kina-quarantine daw talaga yan. Ganyan kasi talaga katalamak ang corruption sa bawat department ng ating gobyerno at protektado yan ng mga corrupt na politicians. Ito, sabi ni Rex, attorney may peraan sa tight implementation. Ito, sabi ni Una Medlegon, siguro dalawang hiwalay na issue o kaso po tungkol sa mga pastillas criminals na pumapasok at lumalabas. O nga, magkaiba nga po yan. Ito, sabi ni Don, as of August 1, pwede na pumasok ang alien na married or son or daughter or parents of Filipinos basta may tourist visa. Yeah. Unless, reviewin nila uli kasi tandaan mo, merong ngayon, merong Delta variant. Baka mag-hard lockdown, magbabago na naman yan. Joel Damasco says, di madali na masolusyon ng korupsyon sa Pilipinas. Tama si PRRD. Martial ang pinakasolusyon, pero ang problema, pag ikulong ang mga korap pati elected officials, baka hindi kasya sa kulungan natin. It isn't really martial law, pero related to martial law, yung suspension ng writ of habeas corpus. Yun yata yung hinahabol niya. Kasi pwede kang mag-detain, tapos hindi mo muna i-charge. So, during the time na nakadetain yan, either magko-confess yan or makakahanap ka ng ebidensya. Diba? Makakahanap ka ng mga witnesses. May mga matatakot na witnesses dyan. Siyempre, ayaw nilang samahan yung kriminal na nakakulong. So, may chance na magkaroon ng additional whistleblowers. Pero tama ka dyan. Vic Talha says, it shows some senators are either ignorant of the law or just trying to get pogi points out of crime happening in the country. Sana inireport at inantay magkaroon ng enough evidence bago nilabas. Senators usually nagpapasabog ng hilaw na issue. Tama ka dyan. It only gives them the political exposure but it does not help the country stopping these graft practices. But, G. Salatar says, mga sugapa mula pa noon, araw nagbabalita na malalaking kumikita ng mga empleyado dyan. Yes. Lian says, may kasabayan ako sa pila sa immigrations. Pinapalagpas niya lahat ng nasa likod niya until ako na yung kasunod niya. Mag-DH sa Kuwait. Antay pa daw niya tawag ng kabayang recruiter sa lugar niya. Madami naman daw na umayos ang buhay sa lugar nila, kaya good record si kabayan ba? Good business with the immigration officers. Aray. Pero yun nga po, alam mo, it's so dangerous. At ito nga sana yung panawagan natin dun sa mga gusto sana magtrabaho abroad, naintindihan namin yung mga pangangailangan ninyo at kagustuhan ninyo magtrabaho abroad, pero sana gawin ninyo pong legal. Pagka legal po, then the institutions will be working for you. Pagka hindi po kayo legal, ayan, may problema na tayo. Magkakaproblema tayo na how to rescue you, how to even keep track of you. Diba? Okay. Sabi ni Ivan ngo, "I just want to compliment you. Best po talaga kayo mag-explain sa mga politics, issues, and laws na very complex and confusing for us normal citizens. More power po sa inyong great work. Saludo ako sa inyo and your colleagues who are providing this free service to make us citizens more aware about our current events sa ating bansa. Especially having the patience in answering all of our questions and concerns. Salamat po ulit. Stay safe parate. And healthy. God bless. Uy, maraming salamat. Sige, on that note, buksan na natin 2 questions that are not related to the issue. Although, tapusin natin yung iba habang wala pa yon. Actually, sabi ni James S., matagal na yung Pogo, 2013 sa RCBC Plaza sa Ayala ako nag-work. Napansin ko marami ng mga Chinese. Kala ko dati mga tourist lang, pero mismo sa RCBC Plaza may mga Pogo companies. Nice. Sa mga government agencies kasi, mga dekada nang nakapwesto dyan ang madalas na kurakot. Kumbaga, nasa taas nga nila yung commissioner pero mas malakas pa rin influence nila dahil sa tagal nila dyan. Correct. Eto, punta kayo Dubai. Sabi dito, no, sipag nito na ang daming overstaying na Pinoy doon hindi makauwi. Ay, naku, sinabi mo. Di po ba pwede alisin ang OEC sa mga OFWs? Paki-spell out po, di ba, ang usapan natin dito, complete questions po. Huwag po kayong mag-abbreviate kasi hindi ko rin masasagot. Nadinig ko kanina sa balita ng Radyo Pilipinas, Sec. DOJ Guevara says he will not tolerate pastillas scam at kailangan daw makasuhan at tanggalin na sa PI. Yes, alam naman natin na matino, okay din si Sec. Guevara. Pero who does the investigation? NBI. So, kulang talaga that, you have one good guy and then you're surrounded by not so good guys and then underneath you, really terrible guys, and that just ruins your case. Sabi ni Paula Guapa, iboboto ko sana si antivirus kung nung siniwalat niyang issue tapos tinutukan hanggat may nakukulong. Pero puro ningas kugon, may mapamidya lang. Alam mo, totoo yan. Tapos lalong-lalo na yung treatment niya doon kay Morente. Aba, nung umpisa, parang medyo stricto pa siya. Aba, habang tumatagal, ay, bait-bait na sila, na parang friendship na, parang ganun. Parang, why are you fraternizing with these people? Even worse tingnan nyo nga yung i-compare nyo nung si Comnic, kahit dun sa corrections, di ba? Nung nandun siya, meron pa siyang kailan ka magre-resign? Ang tanong ko sa'yo, kailan ka magre-resign? Excuse me, wala kang ebidensya ng kahit sumusunod lang dun sa GCTA law yung tao, pagkatapos galit na galit kayo, hindi nyo ma-explain kung bakit kayo galit. Diba? Tapos ito, this is something that you should be really, really angry about. Ay, pakabait. Ano ba? Sabi ni Frida, syndicated corruption na po yan sa BI nung pang 15 years ago, 50K para sa immigration officer, police airport at security officer. Makapunta lang dito sa Italia, isali mo na din mga NBI huli. Karen Minyao says, nakukulangan ba sa sahod ang mga BI employees at kung bakit ganyan sila kakorap? OFW po na di nagtataka sa tanimbala scam. Uy, nako, totoo din yan. Hindi kasi, well, yun na nga nakaka-demoralize din kung iisipin mo yung mga matitinong officials dyan sa loob, yung mga matitinong officers. Dahil sa mga involved dito sa pastillas na hindi naman buong bureau, lahat sila ngayon nagmumukhang kurakot. Which is, it's a mistake. Ako, I prefer to be specific. Ay ipopost nga natin mamaya sa Luminous yung mga pangalan ng 44 or 43 na lang daw pala. Ay, sino kayang natanggal dyan? Yung 43 sa immigrations na yun nga nakabalik na dun sa opisina. Ito, sabi ni Yusuf, dapat sana itinuloy ng isang grupo na nagsusulong ng RevGov. Again, hindi namin hinihikayat ang RevGov because ano ba yung revolution? Rebellion, di ba? So that would be inciting to rebellion. Ito, bakit hindi sinuportahan niyo ng presidente? Because it's a crime. Hindi niyo ba naiintindihan? He could actually be impeached for that. Ang dami niyang enemies. Did you really want the president to be removed? Ito, sabi ni care worker, ano po bang authority ng LGU sa rollout ng vaccine? I'm classified as A4 pero wala namang nagpapavaccine sa Taguig kanina. Wala po bang exception sa rules or classification na ito? It's really the LGU's discretion pero it's supposed to be na they set up the system. It's really their discretion. Hindi po yan sa national government. So, I don't understand kung bakit nagbe-breakdown sila ng ganyan. It's also possible na baka pagod na muna yung mga health workers nila and they gave them, some time to recover. So, eto, si Cesar Songkuan says, paalis ako noon papunta ng Saudi pero visit visa lang ang bigay ng amo ko na Arabo. Pero nung nasa airport na kami, yun, amo ko naglagay sa mga BAI at pumila kami na wala nang tanong-tanong at nakalusot kami. Ala, matagal ng tanong ko na ito. Can you please explain po more clearly? Uy, may more clearly ka pa ha? Yung ibig sabihin ng without a state policy in defense ng walang EJK, di ko po mag-gets. Di po ba policy yung statement na patayin sila? Hindi po. Hindi. Okay, there are two things here. Right? There are two things. Diyan sa ano. Kasi may naririnig kayo na pag sinabi ng presidente, ebidensya yan. Okay, evidence is not the policy. First of all, under international law kasi, may mga cases that get filed in the International Court of Justice. Sa International Court of Justice, tinatanggap na ebidensya yung mga sinasabi ng Pangulo, even if it is unofficial, even if it is not turned into a state policy. What are policies? Policies are rules, regulations, laws, etc. Statements that unqualifiedly give your position on the matter. So, if there is a rule, halimbawa, against certain things, let's say, ano ba? Let's say there's a rule against jaywalking, then that is clearly stated policy because not only is there a rule, there's an ordinance, there's a law. So, but the informal statements of a president can be used as evidence in cases that are filed with the International Court of Justice. But it doesn't even stop there. Even the statements that are made by columnists in newspapers in newspapers can be used as evidence of prevailing of what we call customary law or policy stating the customary law. These are means of proving certain things. So halimbawa, may mga countries who agree to the jurisdiction of the ICJ. So dalawa yan, nagkadimandahan sila. Ang defense ang bintang ng isang country dun sa country B, let's say country A blames country B for let's say polluting a common river nilang dalawa. Sasabihin ang defense ng kabila is we don't adhere to the standards of that you are claiming that we should be bound to. Pero nandun naman yung standards na makikita bilang ebidensya na the country is observing those standards even if they don't have a policy about it dun sa mga statements ng Pangulo nila, sa statements ng kanilang mga kolumnista and so on. So this is another way of proving let's say customary law. Kaya yung ibang mga lawyers, sinasabi nila, yung mga sinasabi ng presidente nila, that constitutes evidence. Yes, but evidence is not necessarily proof. Diba? Unqualifiedly proof. Kasi you have to relate to certain facts. Okay, I hope that you nakuha na yun. Without a state policy here, means that the president had to, let's say EJK, the president had to direct them specifically kill the drug pushers. And that should be embodied in a policy. So, ibig sabihin, ito, PNP, ito bagong rule, issued by the president, let's say embodied in an executive order, an administrative order na you will not be blamed for deaths that occur during so and so, etc. Or you're targeting talaga these drug pushers. Okay? Meron po ako nakasabay sa airport na Japanese and they're having a problem to fill up the forms. Walang tumulong na guy in uniform pero naghingi ng pera. Aray! Do you have any reactions from the international media about P. Duterte's last son? As I watched an interview from an Australian news channel talking to Darian when asked why our president still has high ratings, even in his last term, Darian says it's just because of fear. Hello! Would you admire somebody because you're afraid of him? Psst, tama ka. How about any international news media who thinks our president is a great president? Pagdating sa media po kasi, it's not the same as the man on the street. So, in the past 5 years, I have been to, where did I go to? Bangkok. No, I think Bangkok, China, Sweden, and the US. And in all of these places, yung mga man on the street sinasabi, you're from the Philippines? Oh, I love your president. Puro ganun. So, ewan ko, for some reason, the media feels to me like a tyrannical because they konti lang sila but they express views as though they're the views of the majority. And even worse, they try to influence people into thinking the way they do and trying to change people's minds even if there is no reason for doing so. Diba? No rational reason for doing so. Halimbawa, hindi ka naman taga dito. Hindi naman nagrereklamo yung mga tao about supposed oppression. And even if there were supposedly complaints about oppression, the justice system is working, they can file cases. In fact, hindi mo niya ba napapansin, dito pinag-usapan natin yung pastillas and BI and all of that. The rights of the accused are well protected. So, ewan ko, hindi ko rin naiintindihan kung bakit for some reason, parang victim na victim yung mga naninira dyan. Sabi ni Jose de Pasupil, para makatulong mapabilis yung lift ng travel ban sa Libya kasi naiiwanan ng mga Pilipino sa hiring ng mga Indians, Tunisians, and mostly South Asians. Paborito po dito mga Pilipino, ngunit dahil sa ban na yan, hindi pa makahire ng kapwa natin Pilipino. Tahimik na po ang Libya dahil may gobyerno na sila and we need a lot of Filipino technical men to work, especially in our fields, which is the oil sector. Sana mapabilis po ang travel ban. Sige, we'll take it up also. Paalala nyo po sa Karambola at saka sa Tambayan. Government, sabi ni James, talama corruption kasi karamihan contractual employees, walang maayos na job description at responsibilities, walang accountability sa departments and agencies. Not in the case of immigrations. I disagree with that. Maka ng corruption? Well, yung 44 employees na yan, yung mga 44 employees na nakabalik sa BI, plantilla yung mga yan, Ayan, napansin ba ninyo na naka-uniforme sila? Di ba? It's really weird. No, it has nothing to do with the kind of employment that they have. Kasi yung iba nga talaga dyan, yung matataas na na opisyal. So they're not contracted service. Dennis says, di ho ba pwedeng gumawa ng batas na kapag napatunayang corrupt, firing squad na lang ho, wala nang kulong-kulong. Bawal po kasi, di ba wala na tayong death penalty? May batas tayo against the death penalty. Jessie says, di ba dapat ina-assess ng DILG ang policy ng mga LGU tungkol sa pagbabakuna? Example na lang yung nangyari sa San Andres, UST at San Pablo City. Pwede nyo namang ireklamo yung mayor ninyo. Diba? Hindi po aandar yung ahensya motu proprio all the time. Their attention has to be called to it. So it's necessary to actually file cases. Sabi ni Dan Morales, nagtataka lang po ako bakit si Renato Reyes kahit sino umupo bilang Pangulo, lagi siyang laban sa gobyerno, hindi po ba malinaw na isa siyang bayaran? Wala na pwede ikaso sa kanya na crime? Marami naman siyang kaso, if I'm not mistaken. Pero I haven't seen anything that prospered yet. Baka from now on, pwede na. Diba? Kasi medyo discredited na rin sila eh. Sabi ni Billy Alvarez, agree ako dyan dito sa Saudi, mga kaibigan kong Indian, Pakistan, at Egyptian, lagi nilang sinasabi sa akin, and I quote, your president is good, very strong. O, diba? Diba? Kaka-proud. Sabi ni Kitty Schnauzer, sabi ng isang taga-Kenya, congratulations to the Philippines for the gold medal your athlete brought to your country. I like the Philippines. I like Duterte. Kakataba ng puso. Yan. Mara Robert says, I have a silly question. I thought tandem means Lacson for president and Soto for vice. That's tandem for me. Ano yung ginagawa ni Trillanes tungkol sa Lacson and Lenny Lugaw tandem? And Lacson is talking with Lenny. I'm confused. Please explain. It might be that Lenny is not an actual candidate. They're talking about mutual support. So, kunwari, i-endorse ni Lenny. I-endorse ko po kayo, Senator Ping, Senator Soto. In exchange, bigyan niyo yung LP ng ilang mga pwesto sa cabinet pag nanalo kayo. Ganon. International students coming from other nations tulad ng Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Yemeni, Syrian, Iraqi, Pakistani, gusto nila sa Pilipinas mag-aral kasi nababayaran ng immigrations. Aray! Attorney Heidi Lin deserves to earn an on-the-spot promotion from the CIC, AFP, from the NCO ranks to the officer's rank of second lieutenant or via AGO, but it's CG, AFP like Pacquiao. Can you please comment on this? Hindi po pwedeng like Pacquiao because Pacquiao is a reservist. So, hindi mag-a-apply yung batas sa kanya. Yeah, binigyan na siya ng on-the-spot promotion ng kanyang, also from the CIC yan. So binigyan na siya. So she's promoted to staff sergeant. Ito yung tanong, is she qualified to be an officer? So ano yung mga qualifications dan? College graduate and so on. So yun ang hindi lumalabas. And ayoko rin pahiyain si Heidi Lin. She hasn't asked for it. So uh, I think one of the reasons bakit hindi itinutulakin ay baka nga lumabas na hindi siya qualified. And then she will be embarrassed. Tingnan nyo nga yung batikos kay Senator Manny because as it turns out na ang laki ng mga gaps dun sa mga requirements. Halimbawa, ginawang fulfillment ng requirement of a college degree, yung honorary degree niya. Kakaloka yun. But do you want that to happen to Heidi Lin? It might discredit her. So that's not good. Huwag nating itulak. Let the AFP decide kung qualified po siya. Napanood niyo po ba yung ulat sa bayan ni Lenny? Mukha pong di na naman niya naintindihan yung binabasa niya. Tapos nahuli same pa rin ng dati, puro paninira lang sa gobyerno. Hi, I try not to listen to her unless I really have to. Dahil kailangan ko i-report. Berich Romarate says, kung di talaga matanggal mga officials na yan, doon na lang sila sa patrabahuhin sa labor. Ewan ko lang kung di mag-resign yung mga yan. Imagine 70K sweldo per month nagbubuhat ng karga. Uy, okay yan. Hard labor. Jonaline Requilmes says, hindi na mawawala ang corruption, buong mundo yan, ang sakit corruption. Isa lang ang solusyon sa mga yan. Sana lahat ng mga yan tatamaan ng kidlat kasi hindi naman sila matututo. I'm sorry to God to say that. Don says, we can talk all we want about the BI pero hanggang hindi tinatanggal si Morente at mga galamay niya, walang mangyayari dyan. Thank you, attorney, for bringing this to the people. May PRRD see the light and do what is right sooner, not later. Okay, last two questions. Vicente Hamora says, hello, watching from King Saud University Dental Hospital, Saudi Arabia. Para tayong nasa Miss Universe. Ito, sabi ni Hento, the audacity of Lacson Turan, ang tagal nang nasa politiko pero wala pa rin pagbabago ang Pinas. Watching from Davao. Di ba yung pinag-uusapan natin? Really? Do we really want to? I'm really alarmed dun sa mga forerunners sa Senado. People who have been there, those people na may mga mga major issues against them. Halimbawa, yung solar energy na batas. 'Di ba? Ano pa na issue against one of these candidates? Really? 'Di ba? Why are we voting for these people then? Bakit umariba pa rin sila dun sa sa surveys? Where is this coming from? Ito, G. Ramos says, dito po din po sa Japan, mga Japanese friends ko, pinupuri si Presidente Duterte. We're very lucky that we have a strong and smart president. Diba? Ayan tayo eh. Alex Delisay says, napanood ko, nabasa ko na po. Sita Cueva says, it's amusing to watch non-admin parties fighting on candidacy. Something new naman, hindi administration kaaway nila. Sila naman. Kaya nga, nakita niyo yung kay Trillanes, hala, angry siya kay Lenny. Angry siya kay Lacson. I love it. Berich. Nabasa na rin po yan. I just hope the way Miss Diaz being pampered with all sorts of honors and monetary benefits. I just hope the other athletes must not be neglected though they weren't able to bag gold medals. Lalo na para dun sa may chance pa dun sa next Olympics, let's not forget their training. Shout out kay Mamu, Lambu, and Lovely listening from Abu Dhabi in the UAE. Chris Velin Taghap Veres, sinabi po ni Ka Eric sa Laban ng Bayan program na sina Lenny, Yorme at Pacquiao ay kinausap ng mga left sa kanilang intention to run. Whoa! Greg De La Cruz says, okay lang yan, Mr. Trillanes, na suportahan ni Lenny ang Pingsot tandem. Sure ako, sa inidora sila pupulutin, katulad nyo, Mr. T. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Karen Minyaw, bakit ganyan si Gordon na gustong ipatanggal ang FB sa Pilipinas? Well, ako, I don't mind patanggal yung FB sa Pilipinas basta meron tayong sarili natin katulad nung sa China. Ito, sabi ni Ryan, stage lang yung away-away nila, mga grabe Julius How says, buti pa to CEO sa work ko, believe siya kay P. Digong. Hello, attorney from ABQ NM USA. Ay, nasa Albuquerque ka! New Mexico, USA. I went to high school in Las Vegas, New Mexico. I graduated high school there. Eston says, at least si Heidi Lim, kahit online, sinisikap niya tapusin college degree niya. 2 sems na lang daw siya sa binild. Sabi niya sa interview, kahit 30 years old na siya, no shortcuts. O, di lalo pa, makakatapos na talaga siya ngayon. Tayo ordinary people can't get a job without NBI and police clearance. Bakit mga politiko, major issues, nakakatakbo pa? Agree, super agree. Super, super duper agree. Isipin mo, tapos protektado, lalo na kung mga senador kayo o congressman, super protektado kahit may kaso ka, meron kang kaso, dismissal yung paratang sa'yo, tapos andyan ka pa rin kasi hindi umaanda yung Committee on Ethics. O, di ba? I agree. Tapos kung anong kailangan lang para makatakbo ka, even for president, read and write, residency, citizenship. Oh, pagkatapos noon, you have all of the qualifications and then none of the disqualifications. Tapos wala kayong mga kaso na may disqualification. Holy cow, di ba? Ay! Rene Ranoa says, ang decision ba ng ombudsman kay Joel Villanueva burado na ng Senado? Hindi po. Pero, in order to remove him kasi from the Senate, kailangan mag-committee on ethics pa. Hindi tinable. Hindi yun burado. Unless na-i-appeal niya at na-reverse yung decision. Robbie Andrada says what PRID said in his SONA was the other group of BI employees, the 43 BI employees who were involved in sending OFWs to Syria without legal documents. Okay. Yes, thank you. You're right, qualified. Yung 44 na bumalik, pastillas. So, ang ginagawa ng media, hinahalo nila yung dalawang issues. Pero yung 43 na involved sending to OFW to Syria without legal docs, they're fired na. Reds Redo says, meron po kayong reference dun sa 70K killings during Pinoy's time. Tsaka saan po ba kinukuha ng mga nagsasabi na 37K yung KPRRD? Okay. Yung 30 plus, it's Rappler. Yung 70K, base yan dun sa crime statistics ng PNB. Kasi, actually, during the first year of Duterte, first and second year of Duterte, chinek ko, kinloss reference ko yung number of deaths under investigation ng panahon ni Pinoy, and outnumbered niya kasi si Duterte nung first year ng presidency niya, mababa something like 3,000 or less na deaths under investigation. Ibig sabihin hindi pa solved yung mga kaso. Yung panahon ni Pinoy malaki comparatively. Okay, I don't have the exact numbers pero ang laki nung kay Pinoy. Also, tapos consistent siya, something like averaging 9,000 or so for the entire time that he was there as president. So, kaya 70 something yan kasi he was averaging something like 9,000 deaths under investigation during his time. So, yung 37 plus, yun yung sinasabi nila, deaths due to the drug war, pero walang basihan ng Rappler. Sinasabi lang nila, we have our own sources. So, sa totoo lang, dapat tinatawag na fake news ang Rappler. Sabi ni Gian Garnica, there are a number of non-Filipino YouTubers reacting to PRRD's videos and they admire the president so much, like when and how he answered questions raised by this British reporter who also sounded demeaning. Diba? Tom Gerald says, may katotohanan po bang sinabi ni Ka Eric sa interview niya sa SMNI? Sir naman, ano naman yung sinabi niya? Huwag naman kayong magtanong na ganyan ka-open-ended. Sabi ni Ruth Tubadesa, I'm sorry, ang taray ng sounding na yun. Please complete your sentence para kasi you could say, yung sinabi ni Ka Eric, if I have no idea what he said, or you don't tell me what you mean, which part of what he said that you're actually asking about, then I won't know what to answer. Ruth Tubadesa says, pinapaalis ni Gordon FB sa Pilipinas. Sounds familiar. Parang mahawakan na naman tayo sa laig ng giant media na maitago na naman sa kalokohan nila. Yun ang kinatatakutan ko. Baka mag-set up ng parang FB, magka-idea itong ABS-CBN, tapos gumawa sila ng parang FB, tapos doon mamamayagpag sila. Dapat DICT ang gumawa, gobyerno. Mamaya mag-set up ng parang shadow FB itong ABS-CBN, diyari naman na tayo ulit. John Wick says, ma'am, gusto ko lang malaman ang status ng procurement ng military assets natin kasi naiinis na ako sa mga komento na tagal daw at lahat daw assets ngayon dahil daw kay Pinoy ayon kay Max Defense. Ano? Lahat daw ng assets ngayon dahil daw kay Pinoy, tapos sobrang tagal daw yung procurement natin. Bakit kayo naniniwala sa Max Defense? Binibigyan niya naman ng credibility yung mga yan. I have to check on this. Ayoko magsalita ng ano, ng kulang yung bala ko. Abby says, shouldn't that somebody who blocked the dismissal of Morente as ordered by the president be fired for undermining that said order? Yes, he or she should. Yusuf Haji Ahmad says, ano observasyon mo sa task force Bangon Marawi? Sabi kasi nila, 75% tapos na ang development sa most affected area pero bakit hindi pa pinababalik sa ground zero ang mga bakwit? Kasi si PRRD nagsabi na tapusin na nila ang Marawi rehabilitation. Well, I agree with that one. Pero, alam nyo, I was there at something like the second year. And kasi nga, nagtanong sila about design and well, mostly about design dito sa NCCA. So I had to give a talk and I was listening during the conference for that one. It's very hard kasi nga very umpisa pa lang yung sistema ng land titlings dun sa area na yan sobrang gulo. And yung iba, mga walang titulo, pero matagal na naka-occupy sa ibang lugar. Yung iba, may mga claimants. So, nagkakagulo talaga doon sa, ano pa lang, sa rebuilding. Kasi now you have to prove, ito yung bahay ko, ito yung dito ako nakapwesto, and so on. So, you have to wade through that and apply that to an entire city. And what do you get? Real issues. Diba? Sabi ni Mark, watching from Dubai before coming to Dubai, kasama ko is na-offload. Ako lang pinalabas pero nag-voluntary offload ako. Gulat silang lahat. Sabi pa, bakit di daw ako nagbigay ng 10K? That was 2014. Yikes. Alona says, thank you for sharing your legal knowledge. Parang ikaw yung teacher ng high school na kahit mag-overtime we don't mind kasi may kapupulutan ng aral. Uy, salamat, madam. Ito, Ma'am Loida Revela says, good morning, watching from the Netherlands. Ang wish ko lang para sa mga botante, wag nang iboboto yung mga matatagal na nakaupong politiko, wag nang bigyan ng mga pagkakataong iboto kasi sa tagal nila nakaupo, wala silang nagawa ng mapabuti ang Pilipinas. Ibig sabihin, meron silang mga pinoprotektahan para sa sarili nilang kapakanan, obvious na obvious. Alam nyo ba, na yun yung linya ko in 2016, and I'm glad to see that people are adopting it. Kasi ang stand ko talaga noong 2016 is walang return of the comeback. Puro bago dapat. Well, wala tayong magawa. Yung totoong-totoo na last two. Grabe. Red, dyan sa Rappler. Sabi ni James Thompson, wala ba tayong magagawa dyan sa mga slanted news nila? Kasi it paints a different story internationally. Di ba pwede kasuhan yung mga yan? Sobrang slanted and full of lies. Well, like I keep saying is that the problem with freedom of speech is if you limit it for somebody else, it will be limited for you. So, the constitutional guarantee is wide talaga. Kailangan may freedom of speech tayo. Kailangan very few yung restrictions natin. Maliban lang yun dun sa mga nakikita natin. When there is damage, when there is danger to the state, when there is damage to the state, when there is damage to other citizens, yan, nire-restrict natin ang speech kapag ganyan. Kaya makikita mo yung mga restrictions. Libel, may damage. Inciting to rebellion, inciting to sedition, inciting to terrorism, bomb jokes, and so on. Because of the tendency to endanger people. So, yung ginagawa ng Rappler, is there an immediate danger? Does it tend to, if there is damage, then the person who is damaged should file a case. May batas eh. And that's how you limit them. Kasuhan mo ng kasuhan kasi naninira sila. Pero yung gagawa tayo ng batas or if single out natin sila because we don't like their opinions, yun ang matinding pinagbabawal ng ating saligang batas. There is a balance to things. In fact, yun ang nire-require ng ating batas. Dapat binabalanse natin yung mga interests. On the one hand, itong taong to, Diyos ko, mapanira and he or she annoys us to no end. But at the same time, this same freedom is what allows us, yung hindi niyo ba napapansin? O yung red tagging, nagkaroon ba ng batas? Hindi, kasi hindi nakikita ng Senado at ng Kongreso yung need for it. Hindi nila nakikita yung potential damage na kiniklaim ng kabila. So we still have that freedom. Sa totoo lang, people keep trying to say red tagging is wrong. It's wrong. But it's not a crime. Diba? Both the Senate and the House did not consider it a crime and that it can be addressed through other means such as libel and so on. Meaning, ang sinusundan natin is yung direktiba ng saligang batas. The more freedom, the better. So the restrictions will be limited to damage and potential damage. Now, if we can show that itong mga pinagagagawa ng Rappler has real damage, halimbawa, meron tayong treaty with another country, tapos nakakapanira ng Rappler, they pull out, and there's real damage in the sense na nawalan tayo ng ganito, nawalan tayo, let's say, ng international funding and so on. That's real damage. We can prove that, then pwede silang filean ng violation ng Revised Penal Code Article 154 for false publications. Mick Maui say, what do you think about those cronies daw whose assets were sequestered by banks? Cronies nino? And sequestered by banks who? Chev says, and yet Rappler opens its comment section for the very first time after so many years, unless there's something shady behind them. Ahem, troll farms, ahem. I think they're baiting the troll farms, if any. Di ba? And finally naman, sabi ni Don, pa rin, di alam ni Morente na nagkakabentahan ng 9G visas ngayon. Ang hina naman ng Intel chief ng BI, either mahina o walang intelligence. Ito, sabi ni Vicente Fernandez, Rappler is fake news outfit according to many to counter the reports on truth. Agree. Ma'am Jackie, thank you for your super sticker. And Trinidad Lutic says, Guten Tag, watching from Germany. Hello, Trix, tanong ko lang po, ano na nangyari sa usaping federal government? Is there a chance that the Philippines could have a federal government? Nakita ko how good this governance is here. I live in NRW industrial zone. Wow. Okay, ganito. In order to have federalism, you need to change the constitution. So what the president did was he created a commission to propose changes to the constitution, and included in those changes were the proposals for federalism. Even within the commission itself, hindi po sila magkasundo. And even then, they sent a draft to Congress which outright rejected it. So the president tried, to be fair, pero hindi po matanggap. In other words, it might be an idea whose time has not yet come. So in order to bring about federalism or this kind of change, people need more information, and you need an approach to convince people to ask for it. From what I see, even the president has given up on it. Sinabi na niya noon, di ba, it's too hard, it's too expensive, and there's not enough time to do it. Oops, sorry, my dog. Anyway, so that's how things stand right now. There is no proposal within Congress to institute a change to the Constitution in terms of its form, such as federalism or and even parliamentary. Totoong last two. Not just Rappler and Inquirer, including ABS-CBN through their TFC. Mount Cabin says, Germany, nilaman nga ng flood, galit na galit mga tao doon sa mga politicians na bumibisita, walang maitulong sa naapektuhan. Alam niyo, Mount Cabin, yung kino-contest niyo na opinion ng isang tao na nakatira doon, so the knowledge is firsthand. I don't think it's really fair to question another person's opinion, particularly when they have information that might not be available to you. So, I mean, you can have your own opinion, sure, why not? But I think the other person is also entitled to it, di ba? Kahura says, po ba namin kayo bilang isang Pilipino maipagtanggol ang kalayaan at human rights pagdating ng panahon na kailangan namin kayo? Are you asking me to commit to you? Because I cannot do that. I cannot commit to a future client, particularly not knowing the facts or the law that is involved. But just to put your mind at rest, okay? I have always handled human rights cases. I have always handled cases both for the PNP and for victims. So, kausapin niyo si Attorney Spahi kung hindi kayo naniniwala. But the point is, I cannot make that commitment to you. There's no such thing as committing to a future client, particularly since I have no idea what those cases are going to be. Okay? I also think that you need to look at the kind of clients that I have had. So the more famous ones, of course, are military. So you might want to consider that because I cannot take on cases also that will have conflicts of interest. Sabi ni Vicente Fernandez, we're still here till you decide to end. Sorry, natatagalan na ba kayo? Kung bias ng ABS-CBN, mas bias ang Krappler kasing sama ng news nila about government. Ang grabe, wag na kayong wag na physical. There's so much to criticize about Rappler and and some of the writers. Wag na natin yung physical na itsura nila. Masyadong low blow 'yon. Um, Daisy Collis is watching from Ireland. Congratulations to all Olympic delegates. Go Philippines! Philippines, PH. Yun. Bago man lang matapos, good afternoon, St. Trixie. Sabi ni On at Mufasa. So yon, based on that note, sorry, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa live ngayong araw na ito. Kahit Diyos ko, ang oily ng mukha ko pala. Sorry. Maraming salamat. Uy, huwag kakalimutan, mag-like, share, at saka check nyo po kung nakafollow po kayo sa Luminous, check nyo po uli kung nakafollow pa rin po kayo. Ngayon, kung hindi nakafollow, like and follow uli. O para dun sa hindi pa nakasubscribe sa ating YouTube, go ahead, please, go ahead and do so para masaya, di ba? Masaya yung nakakabalik-balik because sometimes mas stable kasi yung signal dito sa YouTube. So maraming salamat ulit. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you very much. We'll keep talking about all of these issues then. And sabi ni Benedict Paul, politiko, di po kami magsasawa. Ay, sana po. Kasi ang dami rin naman mapapag-usapan eh. So as they come along. So maraming salamat ulit. We'll see you tomorrow on Karambola, Friday bukas. So, and don't forget, Sutil Saturday Sutil Sunday tayo kasi may a-attendan akong birthday party. Ay, maraming salamat. Uy, sabi ni Toto de la Cruz, congratulations daw kay Colonel Almodovar. Full colonel na, tumaan na siya sa Dumaan na siya sa Commission on Appointments. Si Mon. If he has, congratulations Mon Almodovar. Hero of Marawi yan. Maraming salamat sa thank you for calling my attention to this. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. We'll see you tomorrow.